Hello everyone, I'm Brofi1322 and welcome to another discussion video, and this is going to be a quick one. There's going to be no ranting or anything like that. I'm going to make sure I don't rant, but it's going to basically focus on a solution. Just a single thing that Rockstar could do that would be reasonably simple to do and hopefully give us the racing experience that this game deserves. Now, well over a year ago now, I created a video called Race Cars Class, and it was all about the idea of having a racing cars class in GTA, and it was in direct response to us receiving the Jester race car and the Massacro race car. Again, it was well over a year ago. It was episode 7 of this series. I will leave a link in the description if you want to watch that, because it does flesh it out a little bit more in terms of an idea. But this was back when basically we'd just been given the Jester and the Massacro, and they were great, and my thought was that it would be great if we could get some more sports cars turned into race cars, things like the Coquette, the Comet, you know, any kind of sports car that you can think about, turned into a race car, and hopefully put on the same level of performance as what the Jester and the Massacro were, because they were reasonably well balanced, or alternatively made a little bit quicker. And really, race cars should be quicker than supercars. If you're talking realistically, you know, if you were to have a racing Jester and a racing Massacro in their own race cars class, they should be a hell of a lot quicker than what supercars are. But it wasn't necessarily a major thing as long as they were well balanced with each other and stuck into their own class. Now, that is an idea that I'm pretty much going back to with this video, because in my opinion, we're not going to see any significant changes or significant improvements to the class system as it is right now. I've spoke about it at length in previous videos of this series, most recently in the last few episodes. We can shout and scream about it all we want, but I honestly think we're not going to see anything major change. We're not going to see the blister compact in compacts races. We're not going to see the Shafter V12 moved or anything done to the Sterling GT. So, you know, those cars and those classes are going to remain useless, and there's going to be plenty of cars that will remain useless in their classes, like the new supercars with the Banshee and the Sultan RS that would have been perfect in the sports class. You know, we're just not going to see it, basically. So what can be done to improve the racing situation that is different to just rearranging the classes and doing all that? Because again, I'm not certain we're going to see anything like that. And this brings me back to this whole idea of a race cars class. It's pretty much the idea that I have now is exactly the same as the idea I had back then, but there's a few interesting differences because we've seen a few different race cars since I made that video. With the introduction of new gen, obviously we got the stock car vehicles. You know, we had the Dominator race car, the Stallion race car, the Gauntlet race car. They're obviously called different names. It's technically the Pisswasser Dominator and the Redwood Gauntlet and things like this. But all of those cars are in the game. They currently exist. They are race cars. You just can't use them in GTA Online in the regular racing classes, which is a bit of a shame because they're great cars, especially the Dominator and the Buffalo, two of my favourite cars to drive in the game. I've done all the testing for them. You've seen different events where I've been driving them. Then you've also got the Jester and the Massacro race car. Obviously, those are still at the top of the sports class. And then most recently, we've obviously had the Banshee 900R and the Sultan RS, which, when you look at the liveries for them, you look at all the modifications for them, they are race cars as well. So imagine you take all of those cars and put them into a single race cars class. You forget about sports, you forget about supers. The Sultan RS and the Banshee 900R should never have been in supers anyway. But yeah, I'm starting on a rant again. I promised I wouldn't do that. But you put them all into the same class. Now, at the moment, the Banshee 900R and the Sultan RS are maybe 1 or 2 seconds per lap slower than the Massacro and the Jester race cars. The muscle race cars like the Dominator and the Gauntlet and the Buffalo as well, for example, which is technically in sport, but they are significantly slower than the sort of the Massacro and the Jester, which would be the quickest race cars in a specific race cars class. The thing that I think they should do if they make a race cars class like this is leave it open to community feedback for balance purposes. So, you know, we're kind of striking a deal here that, okay, keep all of the current classes how you want to keep them. Alright, you've made your decision. You want the Sterling GT to be OP, fair enough. You know, you want the Shafter V12 armoured to be in sedans, fair enough. Do what you want with your own classes, but create a race cars class and listen to us and listen to the feedback that we're giving you to tweak the performance of these race cars so that they are balanced, and leave it open. You know, from the very beginning, when Rockstar announced a race cars class, they could just say this class will be open to changes in car performance as time goes on to ensure a balanced aspect. Now, in a perfect world, we'd probably have 3 race car classes. You'd have sort of race cars A, which would be, you know, the sports cars, the Massacro, the Jester, the Sultan RS, and the Banshee. You'd have a race cars B, which would consist of sort of the muscle cars, like the Dominator race car, the Gauntlet race car, and also the Buffalo race cars around that same pace as well. And then you'd have a race cars C class, which would at the minute only really be suitable for the Blister Compact race car, the Go-Go Monkey Blister Compact, but you could obviously flesh that out with different vehicles. And I think the tuning that we've had at Benny's for these race cars that we've seen recently with the Sultan and the Banshee, it leaves the door open for lots more cars to get that kind of race car customization treatment. And if they just put them all into a race cars class and leave it open to some balanced tweaks of performance and things like this from feedback from the community, we could see an incredible racing experience with the game. Ideally, again, the fastest race cars should be quicker than even bikes around a circuit, but I don't think we're going to see any changes that major. But if they just left the cars that they put into the race cars class somewhat open to change in the future for balancing purposes, it could be very good, and we could actually see some really great balance within that class or within those specific classes. Again, I don't think we'll necessarily see any of this, but that is my final idea for how we could get the racing experience that this game really deserves. So that's it. That's pretty much it. That is the one thing that I've got to say about how it's basically my last suggestion to Rockstar. It's the only thing that I can think of. We've tried to do everything else. This is my final suggestion, to just hopefully someone at Rockstar will see this and take the idea on board and potentially think that it's something that could happen. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Leave all your thoughts about this idea down below as well. Feel free to go and watch the original race cars class idea video, which fleshes it out a little bit more as well. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.